In this video tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to do sample number 27, which is called an invisible zipper. So let me show you what you need to get started. So first you're going to get a template like this, and as always you just need to cut the top and the bottom off and then cut them in half, and then you should end up with a left and a right piece just like this. Then you'll need to get your fabric ready, place these two pieces on the fabric, and then cut the fabric out and make sure to follow the grain. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so once you've cut out your pieces, if you are able to, I highly recommend that you serge the two inner edges and then make sure that you have your invisible zipper, and it should say right here, invisible zipper. And it should be 7 to 9 inches, no bigger, no smaller. And so it's going to look something like this. And we know it's invisible because, you know, if I take the zipper component away, you cannot see the teeth of the zipper, right? So that's why these are called invisible zippers, because you can't see it on the clothing. So it's great for adding them into the sides of dresses and skirts where you don't want to see the zipper. So let me show you the next step. So next you're going to want to take these serged edges and fold and iron them in half like this, so that we have two little flaps. Okay, so this next part is going to be a little tricky, and it involves working backwards again, which I think is sort of the easiest way to show you how to do this. So ultimately, what we want is we want it to look like this, right? We don't want to see the teeth of the zipper. We want it to be, you know, basically looking like a seam line almost, but with, you know, a hidden zipper on the inside there. So, working backwards, I'm just going to work with one side first. If we want it to be attached like this, when we open it up, it basically means that it's attached along here, but we want to get this fabric sewn up as close to the teeth here as possible. The further away the fabric is from covering the zipper, then it's not going to be really invisible, you know, if you see something like this, right? We need to get this fabric sewn as close to the teeth as possible. So what you're going to do, again, your fabric has this little flap, put the flap down, and then open it up. We know that the flap attaches like this, but we're actually going to flip it so that we see the teeth, and we're going to unzip it because it's going to make it a whole lot easier to do. And then I recommend that you align the end of the teeth here at the top with the edge, and you don't worry about this flap, because that usually just ends up getting cut or tucked into a seam on a garment. So it's good to have this extra little fabric piece. So basically what you need to do is you need to get this little foot, number 35, and you can see it has these two grooves, and basically these grooves perfectly fit. If I can kind of get it to cooperate with me here. So these holes on the foot, the teeth perfectly fit right inside, which allows it to sew as close to the teeth as possible without sewing on the teeth. So I just wanted to show you kind of what that looks like ahead of time. But in terms of getting set up to go to the sewing machine, again, put the fabric flap down on the zipper, open it up, and then you'll want to come over here and unzip it. And then we're just going to flip this to the other side and upside down. So you could also just unzip the zipper, open your fabric flap this way and make sure it's the teeth side. Put one of them down like this. Match the end of the teeth at the bottom here. And then you will pin it. I'm going to start from the bottom. And I'm going to be probably sewing with the teeth going in the foot this way, which means that it'll sew right next to the teeth there. So have your pins oriented so you can pull them down and out like that. Okay, so I'm going to match the next edge. Match the next edge. So you'll finish pinning it all the way to the top, and then let me take you to the machine to show you how to set it up. Alright, so when you're ready to get started, go ahead and put your number 35 foot on. And so basically, in my previous video, I had my pins facing towards the zipper head while it was unzipped. However, I actually tend to prefer it the other way, starting farthest from the zipper head and going down towards it. It doesn't really matter which way you do it, but I think this way might be a little easier because there is the little grooves on both sides of this foot. So it should be easy to do it from either side. So let me show you a little tip for getting started here. When you put your zipper down, the foot down, excuse me, try to unroll this a little bit and try to see if you can get it in there while it's unrolled, because if it sews it the most open like this, then you're most likely going to be able to get as close to the teeth as possible. And I kind of needed another pin in there because it was not listening or cooperating. Alright, so I'm holding the teeth open at the start point here, and it's not quite in there. Even though I unrolled it and it's staying unrolled with the foot, it's going to take just like a little stitch or two to kind of work its way in there. Ah, perfect. So now I just did 2 little stitches and the machine caught the teeth in the little groove of the foot, and now it is set. And now it's going to sew right here, right inside next to the teeth. This is what you want. This is the closest you can sew next to the teeth. So then I'm going to keep going. Perfect. And so you notice how it's normal, and then the teeth get pulled open and wide, right? This is what we want. Okay. Now, when you get towards the end, you're going to obviously have to stop right here at the zipper head, and then you'll probably have to zip it up and then just kind of come back in with this foot towards the end. Alright, so that's as far as I can go. Lift that, cut it. Let's examine how close to the teeth we got. So when this was the flap part, right? So when I go back to the front and if I pull on the fabric next to the teeth, I can see that it's really close. So what I might even do, just to really kind of see the effect, is zip it back up, which I need to do anyways. Fantastic. So when I pull on this fabric, it barely reveals any of the zipper. So this is what you're aiming for, right? So when we end up doing this to the other side, then it's just gonna look like that other example where you just see this line. It just looks like a seam line, and you won't even be able to tell it's a zipper except for the fact that there's a zipper head. So for coming back in on that one part, let's see. So the problem is that the zipper has to be open in order for the teeth to go inside of the little foot. So I can't use this foot to go any further down. So you will need to do a second stitch line. And I recommend you just use this number 4 foot. And as you remember, you don't want it to hit the plate, so you'll have to move the needle over to one side. And then basically just like you'll be able to zip up the zipper without getting it caught. Perfect. And then you should be able to actually start at the top, the other end now. So I feel my teeth here. If I put this next to my teeth, I should be able to start fairly much lower than the other stitch line. And then, remember, this part is still the flap. This does not affect, the front of the fabric. I'm just sewing next to my teeth. Okay, sewing next to the teeth. Okay, and that is really just gonna make sure that the fabric flap underneath here isn't flopping around, and it just gives it extra durability. So that is one side of the, invisible zipper. And then you basically just repeat that for the other side. So you'd open it up, and then you would do the same thing on the back side of the zipper while it's opened and while it's upside down. So you would just, go ahead and repeat that on the other side, and then that's how you do an invisible zipper.